Hi everyone, bonjour à tous.
Guten Abend für alle deutschsprachigen Freunde. Hello and good evening to everyone who is in the English-speaking world. This is Journey to the Chateau. My name is Patrick.
And I'm Stuart.
And today's episode is called
A Chateau with a Moat. Located about 40 minutes north of Poitiers in the department of Vienne, this impressive chateau has multiple buildings dating back to the 15th century that are registered as historic monuments. With a population of over 88,000, Poitiers is the historic and administrative capital of the Vienne department that has conserved much of its old world charm. It has many impressive buildings, including early Gothic cathedrals, as well as several examples of 11th century French Romanesque architecture. This 610 square meter historic chateau is on 2 levels with 16 rooms and 7 bedrooms. It offers many original elements that remain intact from both the 15th and the 18th century. This estate includes a park and meadow covering almost 5 hectares of land. The property includes the bridge and the main gate, the moat, the chateau, a dovecot, 2 pavilions, one with the former chapel, a gîte, a garage, a sheepfold, and a courtyard of buildings that include a barn, the stables, a kennel, and a henhouse. Standing on the bridge over the moat and looking through the front gates, it's quite impressive.
We absolutely love those gates. It's fascinating. And seeing this vast courtyard, which of course in the old days was completely surrounded by walls. Just amazing. Looking at the L-shaped current chateau, so the right part was built in the 1500s and the left part in the 1700s. And then the facades were rebuilt to be harmonious, and it's like this same period, but the right part of the chateau is way older. And one can see this on the interior because they did not completely redo the interior. So you have these monumental fireplaces that are fascinating but do not match the exterior. What I love about this photo is that you can see on the right side there is a tower, which is a square guard tower. There are 2 of them. It's very symmetrical. And the 2 round arches, it's the garage and a barn. That is the right wing of an entire courtyard behind the chateau, which is the farm part of the entire ensemble. It's huge. It's absolutely amazing. So the before mentioned tower that you saw in the distance, now it's a close-up. It's 2 stories plus the roof. Very, very attractive. Not quite sure what to do with it.
Yeah, and this is the, standing before going over the bridge to the moat, this is the pavilion on the right side.
Yes, I call them tower, but it's actually they're called pavilions.
Yes.
There is a matching one in the next picture on the left, and that also has the chapel in it.
Right.
You can again see the whole ensemble. So it's the two pavilions or square towers with the bridge, the gate, a large barn, really beautiful, and the little building on the right is actually the sheep stable. Very cute, really pretty. I think it's incredibly romantic.
Yeah, and this picture also is showing a lot of the things that are all part of the historic monuments.
Yes.
Yeah, it also, because the moat itself is a historic monument, as well as the arched bridge and the two pavilions and the front wall. They are all part of historic monuments.
And so is also all the facades, the roofs, and the dormers are all historic monuments.
This photo is showing the backside of one of the L parts of the chateau that has the two towers.
It also has a bridge which was created by Monsieur Eiffel, who created the Eiffel Tower, for one of the former owners as a wedding gift, which is very pretty. The moat is quite substantial, and the guard towers are from the 1500s and were before solid walled in between, but now since it was no longer needed in the 1700s, this was built out as a country leisurely estate. From the Grand Salon in one of the wings, there is a bridge. This is, which forementioned, it's the Eiffel Bridge. Gustave Eiffel created the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and he gifted this bridge to one of the former owners as a wedding gift. And it crosses the part of the moat and goes into the southern part of the garden.
The ground floor layout includes a large entrance hall, 3 salons, a kitchen with scullery, a water closet, a dining room, a lounge, an office, a bedroom, and the 2 towers.
The chateau had an amazing grand staircase.
Yeah, this is the entrance hall.
And that was, of course, one of the items on our wish list. This is a grand staircase.
Yes.
This is a Louis XV staircase. There's a secondary staircase in the chateau. Love the window. It's quite impressive. Now, on the left photo, you see there is a door, which is not an original door. And it actually leads into a tower room, which was suggested as a toilet or bathroom. This is one of the oldest rooms in the chateau. It's now called the dining room, because it's next to the kitchen. In the old days, this was basically the guard room. Very rustic. The beam over the fireplace, the hearth, is just ginormous. It's an interesting room. It's just not particularly cozy.
This photo was taken in the kitchen, and this is showing some of the built-in cabinets that the kitchen had.
Now, come on, who does not think that that's amazing? I fell totally in love with this. I want this.
Behind the kitchen is a scullery, and this is an original sink that was in the scullery.
Now look at that. It's one slab of stone. It's all carved out of it. Totally fascinating. I mean, that is truly impressive. And for a chateau that size, a lot of dishes had to be washed. I think it's amazing. This is the Grand Salon of the chateau. It's the largest of the salon. It's very impressive. The beams are clearly very beautifully preserved. The molding, the center molding piece where the chandelier is attached is late 1800s, early 1900s as an upgrade. The floors are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, beautiful herringbone wood floor.
Gorgeous. Fireplace is interesting. It is a later remodel. The windows are just stunning, and we love the symmetry. This is one of the other salons on the ground floor. That mirror above the fireplace is just monumental, really impressive, very pretty. The light that comes in is just fantastic. The natural light in some of these rooms is fantastic. Very nice size, just gorgeous. There were so many wood panelings in the chateau that we really loved. And this is like, I don't know, third high or quarter high paneling. And the two-tone is very pleasing. I think it's very pretty, very attractive. So this is secondary staircase, Louis XIII, as we were told. Love that. It looks like it's a walnut door, which is of the period. What a stunning, stunning staircase. And the staircase also had it had painted moldings. So it was trompe-l'oeil of limestone and wood paneling at the bottom. As you can see, there were plenty of holes that were just slightly taken care of, but not restored properly, but just very intriguing. And oh, good Lord, our fingers itch just getting our brushes out and working on restoring the walls.
Moving up to the first floor, the layout includes the former Great Hall guard room, 7 bedrooms, 2 dressing rooms, 1 full bathroom, and the tower rooms.
So this is the upper level, and it has it's called the guard room, which was the old grand hall with the ceiling is en française, the big beams. It's not covered.
Yeah, it has tomette floors.
Gorgeous. That fireplace is very impressive. However, it is a very rustic room. The chateau had a lot of wood paneling, and these are details of the paneling around the windows and the interior shutters. We did very much like it. This is the hallway of the first floor on the left wing of the chateau with multiple bedrooms and a tower in the corner. The toile, of course, we just fell in love with that. That is just, I mean, what's not to love? And it's old toile.
Yeah, and it is actually, and looking at it closely, I can see that is the Delights of the Four Seasons toile.
And you know we love that. Here we have examples of the trumeaus, in one picture, the fireplace and the trumeau of 2 of the bedrooms. They have beautiful moldings in these rooms. The trumeau mirrors are actually not true trumeaus anymore because they just took out the mirror part and put a hanging mirror in there, which is a great project to do.
Right, and the architectural details of those are fantastic.
Stunning.
But it leaves a lot to the possibilities of things that we could do for the mirrored section in between.
This is yet again another trumeau, but more of the original trumeau is left. So the mirror is missing, but the molding, oh good lord, that's awesome.
This is the detail from another trumeau mirror in one of the other rooms, and probably one of the more ornate trumeaus in the whole chateau.
This is just so beautifully done, and this is all gypsum molding. Just the detail work that went into this, just gorgeous.
The second floor of the chateau was an attic space that was undeveloped with lots of possibilities.
Just the woodwork, the beams are so fascinating, and it's easy to see that this could be developed into plenty of bedrooms and bathrooms, and you know, anything one can imagine one can do there. In one of the pavilions that is to the left of the bridge is a chapel. Now it is a former chapel. It's not consecrated any longer. So one couldn't perform weddings in it because it's not a holy space anymore. However, clearly it's a beautiful space, and it has hundreds of years of history. So just very, very attractive. Now, the chateau has a courtyard adjoining to the right of the bridge, of the right wing, I should say. And this was developed, it had heat in it, and there's a kitchen, two bedrooms.
Yeah, it's actually a 175 square meter gîte that has 5 rooms and 3 bedrooms.
It's really sizable. It's very nice. I just do not know how anyone would want to paint a room that color of pink. In the United States, we have a medication called Pepto-Bismol. That means it's a medication for an upset stomach. So anytime anyone who has lived in the United States sees this color, it's Pepto-Bismol. So it's just not pretty. But the fact that there is already a completely developed gîte that one can live in while one is renovating the chateau, very attractive.
Right, and all it needs is a coat of paint.
Or 2. This is the kitchen of the gîte, which we both thought was really well done.
Yeah, it's a nice large kitchen.
Yes, I mean it's large. It's a bit rustic, which you want there. It's not like you want to. Well, maybe that one does. Some people might want to, but this is a very fitting kitchen for a building part that is from the 1600s. We could imagine staying there, renovating the chateau. The chateau has a really large barn, and this is the exterior part of it, the lean-on roof. Actually, it's the extension of the existing roof. This is such a sizable space, and a lot of opportunities for maybe to host weddings or al fresco dinners. It got us thinking a lot and made us very excited.
This is a picture of the dovecot, or what is remaining of the dovecot, and it is also one of the historical monuments.
So this dovecot, of course, had a roof on it, which was like one of those pokey tower constructions with slate, and it had over 1,000 pigeonholes on the inside. So under the old regime, or regime ancien, they had regulations on how many pigeons one could have, and it was all dependent on how wealthy you were. So the more pigeonholes one was allowed to have, the wealthier you were. And pigeons were used not just for communicating, but they were also used for food. So this has over 1,000 pigeonholes. That is a sign of a very wealthy estate.
In the front of the chateau, next to the moat, was a small building that is the sheepfold.
This is a very old building, and quite honestly, so the fact that the sheep were right next to the water, I think duck and geese would be very happy in there, but because the surround of the chateau is this vast grass area, a lot of sheep would actually help to maintain the grass. In the adjoining courtyard to the chateau is the stables and all that. But there actually, at this point, there were geese and chicken, and it was just exactly what the doctor ordered. And looking at this, every fiber in my body said, "This is great, I want this." So the chateau part of it is kind of run as a farm, not a working farm, but so there are horses, there are goats, and this alley of chestnut trees. It was so pretty. There was really not much in my head that spoke against the chateau. Looking at the chateau from a distance, I mean, the chateau itself is very pretty, but looking at those sequoias, they're very old, huge, and good Lord, I just wanted to hug them. Here you can see the entire ensemble and the way it's laid out. What you don't see, of course, is the courtyard because it's behind the right wing of the chateau. It is so impressive and so fascinating. The history of this chateau, it just got us really excited. So let's talk about this chateau a bit more in detail. It ticked off almost every box in our wish, want, and hope for list. We were very, very excited about this chateau.
Yeah.
I mean, just loved the moat, loved the bridge, that big courtyard for where there was already a functioning gîte was fantastic.
Yeah, and one of the things that I liked about it is that it had some architectural details from different time periods.
Yes.
We talked about, Patrick and I have talked about that before, about, when we're in France and we go brocanting, one of the things that I look forward to is being able to go and look for things to go into the chateau. And, it would be nice to not be limited to you have to find something that's from the 18th century from a certain time period, If you actually have something where it's we can buy multiple different things from different time periods and then decide which room it's going to go into, right?
It's true. I mean, there's so much possibilities, so many possibilities in there. The details were fantastic. A lot of land around it. Now, it also is a historic monument.
Right.
So that was. One thing that excited us was oh my God, look, it's registered, it's fantastic. And we had that whole complete excitement about everything. There was a hallway with the red toile wallpaper and the Tomo mirrors in almost every room. Some of them needed the mirror or painting, whatever, but everything was there. The towers were kind of cute, loved them.
And at least unlike the chateau in the woods, this actually had towers that were actually rooms these were tower rooms that could actually be used.
Yes, and they were defensive at one point.
Yes, and even in the realtor, when we had read about this chateau, they had said that, for the bedrooms that have the towers on them, that these towers can be used as bathrooms. They can be converted to something like a bathroom, which means they are practical to be used for something, right?
Yes, and then having that little pedestrian bridge on the back over the moat was really, really neat. The huge barn right outside before one would go over the bridge would have been maybe a fantastic event space. There was almost everything there that we wanted.
Right. But as you mentioned, one of the things that we were concerned about and we looked more into was that it was a historic monument, right? So
yes,
and most parts of this chateau, the moat, the bridge, the towers,
facades, all
there
the
were
roofs.
so many pieces that were all registered as historic monuments, and so we did more research about what does that mean for renovation and what we need to do. And so, we found out that, the first thing that you're going to need to do any kind of a renovation on these things is you're going to have to hire an architect.
For exterior or any part of the chateau that is registered. So we could have built a bathroom in one of the towers. You need a building permit here, but you don't need a permit that it goes through the historic review.
Right.
But considering that in the interior the staircase was registered as well, so it's not like you can just go ahead and restore. No, there were gaps already that needed to be addressed. That all needed to be done with planning permit,
right?
Which takes the mayor has 2 months to approve it, and then they can choose to give it to the Association of Architects for Historic Buildings, and they can take another 6 months. So it can be a long time before you get a permit.
Right, and then once you do that, when you hear back from them, you get a detailed list of all the different things that may need to be changed, or So what happens is you have to hire your architect back in order to make the changes, and then resubmit your designs all over, and then you start the process all over again, which could take another 2 to 6 months in order to get it all approved again.
Yeah, so we looked very closely, and when you look at the moat, so the foundations of the entire courtyard, which was once upon a time surrounded by walls, so there are the old foundations, all of that needed to be restored.
Right.
That was a huge undertaking. The bridge might have to be rebuilt. The facades would all have to be redone with render completely. So you take the old render off, put new render on. Well, a company does that, because this all is under supervision of the historic society there. And we looked at this. We're so totally excited about the chateau.
Right. And one of the other things is that, besides the fact that it is so many things were a historical monument, there was still, and if you've watched this video up to this point, you know that as big as this chateau was and the number of bedrooms and everything it had, this chateau only has 1.5 bathrooms.
Yeah.
Right. So, that one of the things that's going to have to be done is that some of the dressing rooms and smaller bedrooms are going to have to be converted into bathrooms.
Yes, so a lot of work there, which is fine. That's not the problem. But in the end, we were going back and forth contemplating this, and we realized that with the size of the chateau, the major foundation of the old fortress or castle that was there, all of that needed to be redone, and part of the or restored, but part of the retaining wall for the base of the courtyard had already collapsed. So it was a little bit urgent. It was a huge undertaking, and at the end of the day, although we loved the chateau, it ticked all of our boxes.
Right.
We looked at what we can realistically accomplish ourselves in the circumstances. And we decided to be a bit more realistic than we would want it to be. And we decided against the chateau, and we truly hope that someone buys this and wants to pour all the love and time, attention, and financing into the chateau, which at this point we were not willing to do.
Right, and the one thing that I also wanted to add, which we hadn't even mentioned, was that if you looked at some of the rooms when we were doing the tour of the different rooms, is that there was no radiators. There were no radiators in the chateau. So one of the other additional things that had to be done in the chateau was it had to have some kind of heating put into it, because there was only the fireplaces that were the heating in the chateau.
Yeah. So it would have been just a bit more than we could have actually accomplished.
Right. And we're not young, so
we're no spring chicken.
Right. We don't have that much time.
But yeah, this was not an easy decision to step back, because we were both excited and had our sketchbooks out and did some worked on some ideas and putting a more formal sander into the front courtyard in terms of gardening with a fountain in the middle, which we thought would have been great, and we could have had for weddings that staircase was fantastic. And we both do believe that eventually COVID will not dominate our lives around the planet anymore, honestly. So, everything was there.
Yeah.
Not the walled garden, but that was not on the must-have list. Well. That's a wish list item. But other than that, really, it's loved the bridge, loved everything about this, and it unfortunately was a no for us.
Right. So, thank you for joining us.
Au revoir.
Bonne journée.
Auf Wiedersehen. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, please use the like feature to let us know. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our Journey to the Chateau YouTube channel if you would like to see more. Once you've subscribed, you can tap the notification bell in order to ring it, which will allow you to receive all notifications from our channel. Thank you.